Welcome to Attached, a platform for adding breadth and depth to everyday living. I'm Yakov Danishefsky, and this is the Shovavim series, a special release of tools and principles to help increase self-understanding and control for a life of elevated Kedusha. For some people, this struggle is one that is really a struggle of desire. It's simply a struggle of desire. We can call it Yetzer Hara, we can call it Taiva. It's a struggle of desire that the body naturally and normally has these functions of these desires. And that in and of itself, that alone is enough to be a lifelong challenge. However, most of the time, when a person struggles with this area more profoundly, and that doesn't have to be on a level of any sort of clinical addiction, but it's a more profound struggle in a general way. Usually what's going on there is that the struggle, the desire, is not just the body, biological, Yetzer Hara desire, but rather it's that physical desire became intertwined in some way, shape, or form with an emotional need. It actually became a way of filling a void or filling a gap. When it comes to full-fledged addictions, what we always say is your addiction is not your problem. Your addiction is actually your attempted solution to your problem. And then, of course, the addiction became its own form of a problem. But your addiction is not your problem. Your addiction is your attempted solution to a problem. And that's true for all of us, even if it's not really a full-fledged addiction. So again, there are times where the challenge is simply the body desire, physiological, biological, hardwired desire that is a challenge. But when it's more than that, even if it's not a full-fledged addiction, the reason it's so challenging to shake this, the reason it's so challenging to get over and to succeed and to be rid of this, if we can call it that, is because the desire is actually not just, quote-unquote, something bad per se. It's actually rooted in trying to give you something helpful. So there's an analogy that they give in the world of AA of somebody who is lost in a forest, let's say, and they're there for days and they don't have any resources anymore and they're depleted of all resources and all strength, and they cannot find a way out of the forest. They just cannot find anything. They can't find their way. And they keep wandering and they keep wandering. And finally, all of a sudden they hear an echo of something that sounds like running water. So they follow the sound and they see that there's a stream of water. But it's very wide and it's very deep and it looks dangerous to try and just go in and get across. But they think, well, maybe if I can get across, maybe there's hope that on the other side of this river, on the other side of this stream, maybe there's a way out of the forest. Maybe there's people, maybe there's help. So they go around the forest and they gather together whatever resources they can find to put together a makeshift raft that they think and they hope will maybe get them across the raging water. And they put together this kind of makeshift junky raft and they go into the water with it and somehow it gets them across. It does the job. And now they finally have new hope. They finally have new hope. There's the possibility of finding their way out. And so they start walking. And they start trying to find whatever they can find as a new possibility. And they're carrying the raft with them. But now, in the new terrain, there are mountains they have to climb, and there are caves they have to crawl through, and there's all sorts of new challenges and new realities that they have to deal with. And they're still carrying this raft. And they won't let go of the raft. And the raft is hindering them. The raft is holding them back. It's hard to climb holding a raft. It's hard to crawl holding a raft. And so they can't get where they need to get because they're still holding the raft. Why are they still holding the raft? Because the raft saved their life. The raft gave them new hope. The raft is something that they relate to dearly because when they were in a place of absolute despair, when there was no hope left, this raft gave them hope. This raft was their solution to a problem, even though now the raft is causing them new problems. And that is the analogy, the metaphor, for most of our compulsive behaviors. At some point in our life, in some way, shape, or form, the behavior served as the raft. There was something we were challenged by, something we were struggling, some emotional pain or challenge, some loneliness, some feeling of inferiority, some fear, some insecurity, that this behavior either provided an escape from or provided a form of self-pleasuring that helped be a self-soothing method in that pain or that discomfort or that challenge, or that the particular fantasy or vision in these behaviors provided some way of having a fantasy version of filling whatever it was that I was feeling badly about. For example, if I was feeling inferior and I imagine engaging in some behavior with some person and now I feel wanted. If I was feeling held back, if I was feeling chained in a sense, I was feeling restricted, I was in an overly restrictive environment, and this behavior feels like a freedom because my fantasy is a version of this behavior that's very open and very liberating feeling. So that engagement, that fantasy is almost as if I'm envisioning the solution to my pain. So in any one of these ways, whether it's an escape, it's a self-soothing, or it's actually directly fulfilling that which I'm in pain about, the behavior was the raft. And so it's not so easy to let go of that raft because it actually served a purpose. It actually served a purpose. It helped me at a certain point in my life, even though now it is creating problems. So there's a lot more to say about this, but step one is to think deeply about this metaphor and think deeply about what's the nimshal for me. In what way might, not necessarily for everybody, but for most people, in what way might this behavior have actually been doing something productive for me at some point in my life? Now, for a lot of people, that might sound sacrilegious or that might sound problematic to think about. But none of this is to say that the behavior in and of itself is something that is completely okay. But it's to say that it was there for a reason, that we got hooked on it for a reason, that it did serve some purpose. In the overall picture, we want to figure out how to reroute that. But at some stage in my life, this became very strongly wired into me because it wasn't all bad. It was actually functioning in some way as a solution to a problem. And thinking about how that may have been opens up new pathways for attempting to be able to reroute the way I deal with this challenge. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please follow us on WhatsApp, YouTube, or Instagram. All our podcast series can be found wherever you listen to podcasts. I'd love to hear from you, so please reach out with questions, comments, or suggestions, or to be added to our WhatsApp groups. You can reach us through email using Yakov, YAKOV, .attached@gmail.com, or on WhatsApp at 773-888-2413.